It's all going to zero against Bitcoin.
It's going up forever.
You're against Bitcoin, you're against freedom.
Yo, welcome to another episode of Simply Bitcoin Live. We're your number one source for the peaceful Bitcoin revolution, cover breaking news, culture, matic warfare. We will be your guide through the separation of money and state. Today, we have a very special guest. We have the honor of having the chief strategy officer at Bitfarms. And Bitfarms, I totally butchered that because my friend is they just IPO'd, but no, it is Bitdeer, and of course I'm talking about Harris Bassett. Harris, thank you so much for coming on the show. I literally was just talking to Ben Gagnon about the Bitfarms IPO, and I got it mixed up in my head, and I totally butchered it.
No
but anyways, Harris, thank you so much for coming on the show. It's a true honor, and I'm really excited about the conversation we're gonna have today regarding the R&D that you guys are doing over there at Bitdeer. Also semiconductors. Also, you mentioned AI before we went live, and really looking forward to the conversation. Thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Yeah, no, thank you. I really appreciate the chance to talk to you and your audience.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Harris. Of course, my legendary co-host, always optimistic. He has a smile on his face. And of course, I'm talking about Optimus Fields. How you doing, Opti?
I'm doing well, man. God is good. Life is good. Happy Friday, everyone. We made it another week. It's great to be here. And I'm actually super excited for today's culture. So this is going to be interesting. And for you guys that don't know Bitdeer, you guys are the third largest public Bitcoin mining company in the space. So there's a wealth of information here for you guys in the audience. So this is going to be a great conversation today.
Absolutely. 100%. Also, we're going to also talk about the BlackRock as well. BlackRock now holds 70,000 Bitcoin, which is an astronomical amount. Clearly, there's a lot of institutional interest. So we're going to cover all that. It's going to be a great show. Let's get started, everybody. Let's get to the numbers. But before we do that, I do want to give a shout out to our new flagship sponsor. And of course, I'm talking about Bitcoin Well. Buy real Bitcoin. Bitcoin Well is the self-custody Bitcoin platform on a mission to enable independence. They have self-custody by default. They just expanded to all 50 states. So definitely go check out Bitcoin Well today. All right, everybody, let's get to the numbers. We have a lot to talk about. Let's check it out. Here we go.
The Bitcoin numbers.
Is your Bitcoin in cold storage really secure? Is your seed phrase really secure? Stamp Seed's do-it-yourself kit has everything you need to hammer your seed words into commercial-grade titanium plates instead of just writing them on paper. Don't store your generational wealth on paper. Paper is prone to water damage, fire damage. You want to put your generational wealth on one of the strongest metals on planet Earth, titanium. Your words are actually stamped into this metal plate with this hammer and these letter stamps. And once your words are in, they aren't going anywhere. No risk of the plate breaking apart and pieces falling everywhere. Titanium stamped seeds will survive nearly triple the heat produced by a house fire. They're also crush-proof, waterproof, non-corrosive, and time-proof. All things that paper is not, allowing you to hodl your Bitcoin with peace of mind for the long haul. Stamp your seed on Stamp Seed. All right, guys, at the time of recording, the Bitcoin price is 43,220. Sats per dollar, 2,314. Block height, 828,597. Blocks to halving, 11,403. Halving estimate, April 19, 2024. Total Lightning Network capacity, 4,929 Bitcoin. Capacity value, 213 million US dollars. Realized monetary inflation, 1.75%. The market capitalization of Bitcoin currently is at $847 billion. Bitcoin versus gold market cap, 6.15%. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I have this video for you guys. It was posted by our friends over at Bitcoin Magazine. And of course, the BlackRock ETF, the ETFs in general, continue to, there's a tremendous amount of institutional interest. BlackRock now holds 70,000 Bitcoin. I'll show you guys the stats in a second. But first, I do want to play this video. Let's check it out.
What have you seen in terms of flows, and are they making you confident?
Yes, is the extremely short answer to that question. At the end of the day, these flows have been really promising. It's one of the best ETF launches of all time. We've seen north of $600 million in assets come into our product just in the last couple of weeks. that's really exciting because it's coming from a diversified base. And so while, yes, you're seeing some churn through legacy products, you're seeing movement towards new product in the market that actually has a lot of really critical features towards welcoming advisors into the community, which is ultimately, I think, how we're going to start to see the crypto ecosystem evolve from here.
Of course, 21 Shares is.
And here is the latest stats out of BlackRock, and currently they have 70,000 Bitcoin, which is absolutely crazy. You heard it from one of the industry members. Tremendous amount of institutional interest, tremendous amount of inflows. Now, I have a question for you, Harris. Harris, does this change anything from the public miners' perspective? Is this a good thing for Bitcoin? Is this the first this is more legitimization for the industry? What's your take?
No, I think it's definitely more legitimization for Bitcoin in general with the public. I know that many of us have been involved in Bitcoin for a long time, and we're self-custodying and holding Bitcoin in a variety of ways. But for the average person, those are just too complicated. People don't spend that much time thinking about how they're going to do their savings or their investments. And having an ETF, I think, is a very good thing for the vast majority of people to enable them to get into Bitcoin, maybe as a starting point, but maybe also just as their primary way of interfacing with Bitcoin. And I think having substantial, really legitimate companies like BlackRock and Fidelity be sponsoring this, I think that is a very good thing for the industry. I think it will help. It will help in the long term get a lot more folks involved with Bitcoin, and I think the long-term effects of this will be quite substantial because I think the way people will use these ETFs is, they may change their allocation for their retirement plans to have a few percent into Bitcoin, but that really won't have an effect except over time, right? Going forward, there's only a handful of people that are going to just switch a bunch of money from one investment into Bitcoin. That's sort of small. The larger play is millions and millions of people adding a few percent of their allocation into one of these Bitcoin ETFs. And then over time, that really does build up to a very substantial number. And I think that will reduce the volatility of Bitcoin in general, increase the adoption of it, and make it more politically stable, because there'll be so many people who have a significant amount of their savings in Bitcoin. So I think those are all good. I think for the Bitcoin mining industry, there's sort of multiple things that are happening here. One is that, people who had been investing in a Bitcoin mining company because it was a proxy to Bitcoin and it was easier for them than buying Bitcoin directly, some of that money will flow out of the Bitcoin mining companies, right? And now Bitcoin mining companies will really have to compete on operational basis. How good are you at actually doing mining? You're not just a proxy for Bitcoin, because there are other arguably better proxies for Bitcoin itself, though we would argue that we're actually still a pretty good proxy for Bitcoin, and a leveraged proxy in that sense. But operationally, how good are you? How low is your cost of energy? How well can you operate? How stable are you? All of those things will matter. And I think that's actually the right place to be. We would love to compete purely on an operational basis, because we feel on that basis, we're the most efficient, we're the most well-run Bitcoin mining company around. So we're looking forward to competing on that basis amongst the other companies. And I think that's a result of people having another way of investing in Bitcoin. I think Michael Saylor's company will see the same thing, that that was a proxy for a Bitcoin, which is becoming, there are other alternatives now.
So you said something interesting about how the Bitcoin mining, if you own a public Bitcoin mining company, like the stock, essentially, you said something about leverage. Could you elaborate a little bit more on that? What did you mean by that?
Well, leverage may not be the right word, but it's, the whole point of mining Bitcoin is that you can get Bitcoin more cheaply, at least from a financial perspective, that you can obtain Bitcoin more cheaply than just buying it on the market. And so there is an advantage in that in terms of obtaining Bitcoin. So if you invest 100 million in mining rigs and mining operation, you should get more Bitcoin than if you just bought $100 million worth of Bitcoin. And so that's what I meant by the change that $100 million number to whatever number makes sense to you, but the same thing applies.
Gotcha. Yeah, and another thing also is, if my memory serves me correctly, BlackRock, and they own a large percentage of these public miners. And is that just because they're an index fund, or is just that the market showing interest? Is that like a strategic move on their part?
To my knowledge, none of those large institutions have made active decisions to purchase mining companies at this time.
Okay.
It's all just part of an index fund or something like that. I don't have firsthand knowledge of it, but I talk to investment bankers all the time, and that's what they're telling me.
Gotcha. Okay, so it's more so because it's an index.
Yeah, part of an index. Yeah.
Gotcha. Interesting. Okay, Opti, any questions?
No, I just kind of wanted to touch on a few things that I forget what the girl's name was from BlackRock, but guys, I know a lot of people in our chat is always talking about, and we say it all the time, that you guys should be buying spot Bitcoin over a Bitcoin ETF. But if you are getting exposure through, say, your company or 401k or whatever, like the fact that we have the biggest and best asset managers now on the marketing team of educating their customers about Bitcoin, we saw the signal there. She said might be one of the best ETF launches ever. And I think that's just further proof that there is so much demand for Bitcoin, and we're just starting to see it. And it's been like 2 or 3 weeks since it's been launched. So I think 2024 is going to amount for a big year. And then, of course, 2025 as well. So I just wanted to touch on that one, Nico.
Yeah. So go ahead.
Me?
I think the audio came out in my end.
Oh, I didn't say anything.
Okay. Opti, what were you saying?
No, I'm. Yeah, I wrapped it up. We're good.
Okay. All right, everybody, let's hit the news. We have a lot to talk about. I mean, let's hit the culture. So we talk to Harris about it. Let's go.
The Daily Culture.
All right, so Harris, I was taking a look at an interview that you did recently, and you said that at BitDeer, it's a technology-focused company. You said that 25% of the people are focused on R&D. Could you elaborate a little bit more on that and why BitDeer has chosen that approach?
Yeah, so let me start with why we've chosen that approach first, right? So if you look at Bitcoin mining, Bitcoin is a commodity, right? Everyone's Bitcoin is identical to everyone else's. And then the cost of energy for mining Bitcoin is going to become pretty similar among everyone, because people who are mining with higher cost energy are typically not going to be mining for very long. And so you're mining a commodity that's the exact same as everyone else. You're using energy prices that are roughly same as everyone else. And then you're buying mining rigs from one of 3 typical suppliers. And so what value does the management really add there? You can say operational efficiency. There's some mining companies that have an energy background, but it becomes a commodity business. And then, commodity businesses usually have margin compression, and then they get lower and lower margins. And, you're really operating on a very thin margin in the long term. So how do you get out of that? And then the way to get out of that, one is maybe you have scale, but that's got some limits. And I think scale is important. You do have to be large, and we are. But the other thing is technology to give you an unfair advantage, a market advantage where you can do that. And that's sort of in our DNA, right? My DNA is semiconductor design. I've been doing that for decades. Jihan, the chairman and founder, and then Matt, our CEO, they've got technology product background. Jihan, of course, is the founder of Bitmain as well. And so it's in our DNA to really go after products and technology. Now, we started with the very important products and technology, but less high tech. So we have, for example, containers, air-cooled containers, immersion-cooled containers, and containers specialized for operating in hot desert environments or humid environments. And we have the lowest cost of that infrastructure. So if you buy those containers from us, you will have the lowest possible cost of establishing mining infrastructure that you could have. And then the next step and we also provide software services and support services. So we're sort of full featured, right? If you want to start your own Bitcoin mine, we can sell you the containers. We can help you with the software and support. And the thing that was missing, and the thing that we're starting now, and we announced in December that we've ordered wafers from TSMC, is to start making our own mining rigs. Now, we haven't announced when we'll release those, and semiconductor design is sometimes an iterative process, so it could easily be delayed a little bit, but we're expecting middle of this year to hopefully have our first set of mining rigs out. And we're actually have multiple teams working on design of different generations of mining rigs. And so if you look at the profits to be made in Bitcoin mining, a lot of that happens in the bull market. That happens usually 6 months or 9 months after a halving. And a lot of the profit, the lion's share of that profit in the past, has gone to the company making the mining rigs because they simply keep increasing the price of the mining rigs. The supply of mining rigs goes down. And so the people who buy them to do mining are paying far more for the rigs. And as it is, the cost of the mining rig can be 75 or 80% of the cost of the capital that you need to establish mining. So by having our own supply of mining rigs, by being able to have very efficient mining rigs available, especially during the bull cycle, that's the technological advantage. And of course, we would sell these as well to our customers, including customers who are hosting at our sites, customers who have partnered with us, and customers in general. But the goal here is to basically leverage our expertise in semiconductors and in hardware and get an advantage over other companies in this field by having lower cost of the mining rigs and better supply of them as well, and far more efficient mining rigs than everyone else.
And that would make you one of the only publicly traded mining companies that manufactures their own ASICs. Is that correct?
I think it would make us the only publicly traded mining company that manufactures our own rigs. Yeah.
That's a pretty big deal.
Again, I want to say that I've done many chips for many different things, and there's always a little bit of a learning curve. We have some very solid teams put together here that have a lot of experience in this, but it's a matter of predicting the exact time frame is very difficult. And so I don't want to mislead anyone about the exact time frame here, but we're working on some very aggressive technology here.
Gotcha. So Moore's second law, which states that the cost of a foundry doubles every 4 years, with the cost of entry increasing this fast, doesn't this reduce innovation and competition in the industry?
Yeah, there's only a handful of people who have the expertise to do this, and the capital. And so the capital, to tape out a chip now is somewhere around $20 million on the leading edge processes. So it's a lot of capital, but it's not huge. The thing that's really missing is the expertise. Bitcoin mining chips are not like other big digital chips. And the history of that is pretty interesting. I was teaching entrepreneurship at Berkeley, helping teach entrepreneurship at Berkeley back in 2011, 2012. And then in 2013, some of my ex-students came to me and said, hey, we've got a great idea for a company. We want to do a ASIC to mine Bitcoins. And so I looked at it, and at the time, there were, a lot of people were planning on doing that because, there's been this progression from mining using software to using GPUs to using FPGAs. And then the natural progression was to use ASICs. But the thought that occurred to me was that, you really wouldn't have much advantage over everyone else because everyone else would have access to TSMC or other foundries, so they'd have the same manufacturing process available. And if all you did was synthesize a ASIC using their standard design blocks, then it's very hard to get an advantage there. So I had a lot of background designing chips for the military and for military applications, and they tend to be much smaller, and a lot more design effort goes into getting those right and to getting them highly optimized. And nobody does that for big digital chips because it would take way too much effort and too much time. But what I realized about the Bitcoin chips were that while they were big digital chips, they were really small circuits repeated hundreds or thousands of times on the chip. So you could use those design techniques developed and honed, especially by people designing chips for the government, to this application. So I took those techniques, and I had a lot of people that I knew that were expert at that. And so it's full custom design where every transistor, every wire is individually, placed and designed, as opposed to larger blocks that you just get from TSMC. And that took a lot more effort, but it gave substantial, incredible performance advantages. And then we worked with Bitmain, and Bitmain ended up with the technology. That's a long story that I shouldn't go into here, but and that really allowed Bitmain to dominate this field. And then what happened was that everybody else, so if you look at the BTC or Canaan, or even the newer companies like Auradine or Chain Reaction, they're all adopted basically this architecture, this full custom analog, every transistor, every wire approach to design. And that was started in 2014. It's been the same since then. And I had an interesting thing where I went to Auradine, and they explained to me how they've done some of the best digital chips in the world at their previous jobs, and how this Bitcoin chip was so much different and difficult in a way. And but that's what Bitcoin people have been doing since 2014. And so our goal is to adopt that and then to improve it, to come up with a new architecture that will be radically different, better. And that architecture has served us well since 2014, but it's time for a new one. And that's where the innovation comes in. So the number of people that can program an Intel box to run Bitcoin code, that's probably in the millions. The number of people that can program a GPU or an FPGA, it's still probably in the millions, but it's substantially fewer than just writing the software code. The number of people that can do a traditional digital ASIC is, much smaller still. To do a full custom ASIC like is done now for Bitcoin, there's very few people that really have that kind of skill to do it well. And then as we go to the next generation, the number of people that can do that is even fewer. So it's really this skill set. I think it's a underappreciated art, that how unique the design of a Bitcoin chip is compared to almost any other large digital chip out there.
100%. And the history of it is fascinating, right? Because it started with CPU, GPU, then, the ASIC, right? And then Bitmain, you mentioned it earlier, played a very big role in that. And I know that Jihan was one of the original founders of that company.
Yes. And so, I knew Jihan from back then when we interacted in 2014. And then, I didn't really get into Bitcoin. Since 2014, I've had other jobs, mostly in the semiconductor or electronics space, running companies for Stanford Research Institute, and even had one company that was an agricultural company for a while. That was very interesting. That's still working. But then Jihan called me, about a year ago or so, and had this idea about getting back into the chip business. And so, we talked about it. I thought there was huge opportunity here to improve the state of the art, to get to the next level. And Jihan, he's all about breaking new ground and putting the investments in to do that. And so I felt like this was the right place for me to go. And I like Bitcoin. I love chip design, and I think this is absolutely the best place to be.
So, and I have a question for you regarding that. So material science, printed circuits, the extreme ultraviolet technology are all intrinsical to the semiconductor industry. How do you see them evolving the next few years? You did mention that there's tremendous opportunity here. What new technologies can be expected?
So in semiconductor manufacturing, that's a big lift, right? That's really a lift that's going to be done by TSMC, Samsung, Intel, Micron. And that's not something that any Bitcoin company today, anyway, can really do. So the creativity comes not from the manufacturing, but from the design. And there's a huge amount of creativity that you can get from the design. And that's where I think we have had not great advancement since 2014, right? It's been, you could look at a 2014-15 chip and a chip today, and they're very similar except for the process technology, the manufacturing technology. So most of the money in semiconductors is made in design. If you look at the NVIDIA, right, they don't have a manufacturing for semiconductors. And you look at Apple, they don't have manufacturing for semiconductors. They do tons of design. They design their own chips. And that's where a lot of the value is. And in fact, I listened to one of the founding and longtime CTOs of TSMC, and he said it wasn't that TSMC so much won the semiconductor battle as the US companies decided it wasn't profitable, and it was much more profitable to not have manufacturing and to simply be in the business of designing. And that actually turned out to be right on an individual company level. You look at the how well NVIDIA's done versus how well Intel's done, which kept their manufacturing, and you can see that there's a very big difference. It has been much more profitable to be on the design side, to be on the system side. But as a nation, of course, it's important to keep that manufacturing. It's a very critical national resource, and so we have to make perhaps different decisions, as a nation than an individual company would, or we have to incentivize manufacturing. And I think the CHIPS Act is doing that. I was a little bit of a skeptic of the CHIPS Act when it first came out, because I thought, well, 52 billion, that's what TSMC spends in their capital budget over a year or so. How is that going to make a difference? But I think it has made a tremendous difference because it's incentivized a lot of private capital from Intel, from Samsung, from TSMC, right? You have Samsung building out in Texas. I just drove past their facility in Taylor, Texas, a little while ago, yesterday, in fact. And then, TSMC is building out in Arizona. Intel's building in Ohio. So I think it's a good thing. There's always been that partnership between government incentives and semiconductor industry going back, since the beginning of semiconductors, really. And I think that's important. But to reemphasize, the advances are going to come from design, from a handful of people sitting in front of monitors with being forced to live with the existing manufacturing process and figuring out a way to do the design completely differently, thinking of it as a physics problem instead of a electrical engineering problem, things like that. So that's where we're focused, because that's where we can have the biggest bang or the biggest impact for the dollar.
That is okay. That is fascinating. That is really, really cool. So it's not the actual manufacturing; it's the design of the chips itself. That's where
which transistor you use, how you connect them, the circuit topologies, things like that.
And that's where you have the edge. That's BitDeer's edge. That's where you guys are leading the pack, the vanguard. That is really, really interesting.
Let me just say, hopefully, I do think we are. But I have to be careful. There's a lot of hardworking, smart people in this field, and you never know. But that's where we're putting our efforts. That we think there's huge gains to be made right there in the design.
Well, Harris, you're as a Bitcoiner, you're making me extremely bullish. So I will say this though. You did mention earlier, you said that there hasn't really been quite a lot of innovation since 2014. Why is that?
Well, that innovation that happened in 2014 was quite fantastic to begin with. And so, I mean, that is the nature of circuit design. I mean, that's in Bitcoin. If you go back and you look at the basic circuit topologies of other digital circuits, those have been static for much longer. No pun intended. It's static CMOS. And basically, people have been using, the same static CMOS technology for much longer than, it's 20 or 30 years at least, right? So that stuff changes infrequently. And there was a substantial, huge change in 2014. And the fact that it's lasted 7 or 8 years is not surprising at all.
Gotcha. And then what you're referring to is the application, the ASIC, application specific integrated circuit, like the moving from the GPU to the ASIC. That was the innovation, then making the ASIC specific to mine Bitcoin.
Yeah. So let me see if I can get this. So it's running the algorithm on an Intel box, right, as software.
Yeah.
Then running it as software on a GPU, right? So at this point, you haven't touched any hardware design. You've just used a GPU instead of a CPU. And the GPU is faster because the basic Bitcoin algorithm is pretty light and easy, but you need to do it thousands or hundreds of thousands of them in parallel. And a GPU has a lot of highly parallel processing units. And so that's why a GPU is better than a CPU in this. And then moving from a GPU to an FPGA. Now there's a little bit of hardware design because a FPGA is a field programmable digital circuit, and that's quite a bit more efficient than a GPU. And then from there, it was an ASIC. And an ASIC is where application specific IC, but that covers a lot of different design technologies, right? It could be a pure static CMOS one that uses the libraries that TSMC provides, or it could be something that you've handcrafted where every transistor and wire are individually placed by the designer. And so that range is what I'm talking about. Within all of that falls within the ASIC, nomenclature there.
And let me ask you something here. So what is it? So obviously you have a tremendous amount of experience. You have a lot of time, manufacturing, designing, semiconductors. What is it that attracted you? Why did you want to come back to Bitcoin? What is it? What was that calling? Did you just see, like, we can make this more efficient, we can make this more energy efficient? What was that calling?
Yeah, it's energy efficiency is the holy grail, right? I mean, it's the holy grail in electronics of getting from one node to the next. The primary reason people go from one node to the next is to get more energy efficiency. Especially for, if you talk about Apple and Qualcomm and NVIDIA and the other people that are going from one node to the next, it's mostly energy related, but also, how much work you can do with that much energy, right? So, and Bitcoin lends itself to a lot of innovation because it is a relatively straightforward, simple circuit. You can experiment with things that you could never experiment with on a more complicated chip. If you're doing a CPU, you have so much design effort. You cannot, and it's not focused on just one block. So you have to use techniques that allow you to do a large design effectively. And that means you can't, place every transistor and wire because you'll never finish the design. And you'll need an army of people that are much better trained than the army of people you already have and larger. And by the time you're done with the design, the product will be irrelevant. Bitcoin's not like that because there's, a much smaller circuit that you can hand design and then replicate it hundreds of thousands of times on the chip. So it lends itself to much more creativity in the design space than anything else. The other thing that comes close to this actually is, as I mentioned, GPUs or chips meant for AI, because they're also relatively smaller processing units that are repeated, dozens or hundreds of times on the chip. More complicated than Bitcoin for sure, But still, if these energy saving techniques that we're looking at in subsequent generations work out, they can be applied to areas other than just Bitcoin.
Gotcha. And let's talk about that, because we were talking about it early, like before we went on air, the AI operations in Singapore that you guys are doing over at BitDeer. And my question, and I think a lot of people are thinking this perhaps in the chat, is what does AI have to do with Bitcoin mining? So what is it, what attracted you guys to AI as a company?
So AI, and actually running AI data centers, does have some synergy with running a Bitcoin data centers. Both AI data centers, more than any other type of data center except for Bitcoin, is very energy intensive. So an AI data center is much more energy intensive than a normal data center that Amazon might have for non-AI uses, because it's basically an AI chip is pretty much busy all the time and at 100% utilization, whereas in a typical data center, you rarely get anything close to that kind of utilization of the hardware. So there is this thing where energy intensity, energy cost is far more important in AI than it is in other data centers. And of course, that's an expertise that we've honed over a long period of time. The other thing is that we just have this really solid partnership with NVIDIA, where NVIDIA and BitDeer want to penetrate basically the small and mid-sized AI companies in Asia primarily. And NVIDIA is helping us with that. They're helping us establish those relationships and to service that market where we have a significant amount of connections and sales expertise. So it's not just selling bare metal where someone can come in and rent time on an NVIDIA GPU from BitDeer, but it's supporting their models, supporting their applications and software, and that's that's not needed by the larger AI companies, but everyone is almost everyone is trying to get into AI now, and the smaller and the mid-sized firms need more help with that, and that's the part of the services that we can provide. And that's analogous to what we're doing in Bitcoin, right? We're not just mining Bitcoin, we're hosting Bitcoin miners, we are providing hardware and services to Bitcoin as well. So we see that a fair amount of overlap in those areas, and we're just getting started in AI. We've got our first superpod in Singapore up and running, and we think we're like everyone, we're excited about AI, but we think we have a lot to contribute there.
It's essentially you guys are branching out. Essentially, it's not necessarily Bitcoin mining specific. It's that there's opportunity in AI, and you guys want to attack it. Would that be a correct way to put it?
Yeah, it's an additional revenue stream. It's an additional business area that we've gone into. Yes.
Understand.
It's
okay.
not displacing or substituting for Bitcoin mining, though. It's adding to it.
Of course, so you see an opportunity of I love how you explained that. It really, made some light bulbs in my head pop, light up. Which is the idea of it's not necessarily the manufacturing eco, it's the design itself, and that really started to make sense to me. So you did an interview not too long ago where you mentioned the Kingdom of Bhutan and how you guys have a mining operation there. And there's a very famous Forbes article, or not famous, I guess famous in Bitcoin circles, but essentially the article headline is "The Kingdom of Bhutan has been quietly mining Bitcoin for years." And I heard you say in an interview that you guys have an operation there itself. And Bhutan, from my research, essentially it has a tremendous amount of hydroelectric power capacity. So could you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so Bhutan is a constitutional monarchy. It's a relatively small country that's just north of India, up in the Himalayas, and they've been a stable constitutional monarchy for 117 years now. It's a very safe, very easy place to do business. They rank very high on the, or I should say, very low on the corruption index. They're on that index, they're less corrupt than the United States, and great place to do business. we're working with the government, and the government has been involved in Bitcoin mining for, I think, close to 10 years now. And we're working with DHI, which is a sovereign wealth fund, and our partner in this. We have 100 megawatts up and running in Bhutan now. Bhutan has about 2.5 gigawatts of hydroelectric power. So it's all, carbon-free, environmentally safe electricity. But the usage of that electricity is only about half a gigawatt. So only about 20% of it is needed by the country itself. So there's a lot of extra, effectively stranded power there. And we're helping them monetize that. So we've got the 100 megawatts up and running as of August of 2023. We're working now on a project to do another 500 megawatts. So a total of 600 megawatts in Bhutan. The 500 megawatts will eventually have, some 27 exahash just in that one project. So in that one project will be more exahash than the largest public miners have today across all of their sites. So it's a very exciting project. We really like working in Bhutan, and it's politically stable. They love Bitcoin like we do, and they've got low cost of energy. The climate is good for Bitcoin mining. It's cool, it's dry most of the time, and so it's a great place to do mining. We like also just having geographic and jurisdictional diversity, right? We have our largest operation right now is in Texas. We also operate in Tennessee, in Washington State, we will be operating in Ohio soon. We have 2 very large sites in Ohio that will be starting up in the next year or two. And we have 2 large sites in Norway. And then the Bhutan site, of course, we'll have one. We have one site there now. We'll have another site there in this year. So that jurisdictional and geographic diversity is just a way of, you never know what's going to happen in terms of weather or climate events or energy. And so it's good not to have everything concentrated in one location. Texas is a very cheap and inexpensive place to mine, very good place to do mining, but we don't want to put all, gigawatt or 1.5 gigawatts into that one location, because the unexpected is, something that you need to plan for. And so this diversity and of jurisdictions and geographies, I think is a way to build more strength into the company.
Absolutely, and very, very, and I completely agree, and it's very, very interesting. And I do want to ask you about the Norway operation. I'm assuming it's a very similar setup as Bhutan, in the sense that there must be excess capacity. I'm assuming this is the north of Norway, right?
Yeah, so this is in the northern parts of Norway,
yeah,
where they have a lot of hydroelectric power. So again, carbon-free electricity. But most of the people in Norway actually live in the south part of Norway. And the transmission infrastructure between the north and the south is not great. So that energy is a little bit stranded also. And so we're there using that, monetizing it. It's a great place to have a Bitcoin mine as well. We've been very lucky to have that site.
And so, and it's very interesting. The like, essentially the way that I'm looking at it is, Bitcoin mining gives stranded energy value. You could make the argument that before Bitcoin mining, what were you going to do with that excess energy? What were you going to do with that stranded energy? Do you see this fundamentally changing the world in terms of making, the energy sector more efficient, more innovations? What is your, 5 to 10 year view of how Bitcoin mining could potentially revolutionize the, the energy industry in worldwide?
Well, I think we're doing a lot. I think we can do more in the future, and I think we should try to do more in the future. So right now, I'll just take Texas, for example, because it's a well-known case. By having a Bitcoin mine there and being operating during times of normal energy availability, we make it more likely for people to build more base power, so that there's more just base power available, because there's a need for that from the mining community, and we can purchase that power. And then at the same time, when there's a shortage of power or there's the peak events or things like that, we can very quickly shut down. So there's less need for peak power that's typically much less clean and much more expensive. And in that way, we help stabilize the grid. First, we help the grid become more capable by justifying more investment in base power. And then we reduce the need for peak power and make it more stable during those times by being able to shut down quickly when called on. So I think that that's a net good effect on a grid like Texas, and we think we'll have the same effect in Ohio as well. But there's on top of that, I think that we can in the future work more closely with renewable energy sources to help justify their establishment in the first place. A colleague of mine has been involved in a lot of trying to get a lot of renewable energy off the ground. Things like, using methane out of basically, waste and where you have large dumps and then they generate methane that basically is released into the atmosphere to basically capture that methane and use it for energy. And the problem with establishing those is usually they don't have good initial off-takers that they can bank on. And if we can get to a point where we can have Bitcoin mining be that initial off-taker and justify the establishment of these sources, then we can actually make a much bigger impact on the amount of carbon that gets put into the air. And so, things like that. I think there's more we can do going forward as the industry grows, as we're much more reliable as an initial off-taker and bankable for these large projects. I think that makes it easier for more renewable energy projects to get off the ground.
Very, very excited. So I do want to be respectful of your time, Harris, and we're getting to the time. And I just want to give you an opportunity. If you had a final message for the audience in regards to BitDeer, what are you guys looking forward to the next 2 or 3 years?
Well, the next 2 or 3 years, I think, are going to be very exciting for Bitcoin, but especially for BitDeer. We are, as I said, we're getting involved. We're growing substantially with, we're at close to 900 megawatts today. By the end of, say, 25, we could be at over 2 gigawatts, expanding into Ohio and Norway and Texas and Bhutan. And then there's this expansion into the hardware space, which I'm very excited about. And, we should have our second generation of machines out by 25, first generation out this year. And so, a lot of exciting things. I think we have the right business model. I think we're, focused on the right things to stand out. I think there will be, consolidation in the industry, and you need a way of getting an advantage and a uniqueness to your company that lets you not just survive but thrive over the next several years. And I think we're doing that.
Absolutely. Well, ladies and gentlemen, Harris Bassett, from Chief Strategy Officer at BitDeer. Harris, thank you so much. It's been an honor to have you on Simply Bitcoin Live. We really, really appreciate you coming on and your time, of course.
Thank you very much. I really enjoyed it.
Thanks, Harris. All right, guys, it is time for the news. Let's get to it. Here we go. I want to give a shout out to our sponsor. Have you ever wanted to get into Bitcoin mining and don't know where to start? That's why I want to introduce you to Scott's Build a Mine Bootcamp. He will show you how to build your own Bitcoin mine, how to get the project funded, how to get your facility filled with miners as quickly as possible. With a little luck, and by putting all his techniques and strategies to work that he's developed mining Bitcoin for the last 6 years, you could be mining 5 million Satoshis per day or 0.05 Bitcoin in less than 3 months. On the free webinar, he will give you a high-level roadmap that will help you get on your way to building, owning, and operating your own Bitcoin mining farm. Begin your mining journey today. Register for the free webinar now. Click the link in the description of the video below or contact Scott directly on Telegram using his handle @OfferedScott and learn how to mine those precious, precious Satoshis.
The Daily News.
I want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Foundation Devices. It's self-custody done right. They built a premium grade hardware wallet called Passport right here in the US. It's fully open source and verifiable. It's the most intuitive Bitcoin wallet designed with a UX reminiscent of a simple feature phone. So you will know how to navigate it and use it the moment you pick it up. Get your Bitcoin off exchanges and into your own hands in just a few minutes. Experience the peace of mind that comes with taking ownership of your own keys. After a massive sellout during Bitcoin Miami 2023, the Passport is back in stock at foundationdevices.com. Bitcoin only, open source verifiable, completely air-gapped security model, gorgeous design craft, premium grade materials. If you're thinking about getting your Bitcoin off exchanges, this is the one for you. Check out the Passport link in the show notes below to learn more. All right, everybody. So interesting kind of change up. Speaking of Argentina, you guys know we like Argentina. We like Argentina in general, but let's just say we especially like the current president who was just elected, of course, Javier Milei. And he's dropping bombs at the Continuing Conference, talking about, essentially how money printing is a way to control people, shifting the Overton window. I've been seeing in the chat, people are asking when Nico's going to say Overton window. I just did. So anyways, let's check out this article. Argentina President Javier Milei drops crypto tax plan. It goes on to say Argentina's President Javier Milei has opted to remove proposed cryptocurrency taxes from a controversial omnibus reform package. It's a strategic move to expedite the approval of the sweeping set of reforms and avoid long debates on matters he deems less critical. The Ley Omnibus Bill, formerly known as the Law of Basis and Starting Points for the Freedom of Argentines, initially included provisions requiring taxpayers to declare ownership of previously undeclared assets, including cryptocurrencies. However, in removing those clauses, Minister of Interior Guillermo Franco said that there is a greater need for rapid economic development and legislative efficiency. Quote, "The tax part was a smaller and delayed treatment," Franco stated, emphasizing the government's focus on achieving consensus on more agreeable aspects of the bill. With the legislative pivot, the implications for cryptocurrency holders in Argentina remain a topic of concern and confusion. Holding crypto or paying with it is not and won't be taxed, apparently, but selling big amounts as profit is. Quote, "In the case of an individual, merely purchasing what the law refers to as digital currency does not incur a tax." Marco Zarco, an accountant for knowledge of the matter, told Argentinian news outlet iPro Up, quote, "Income tax applies to the profit made from the sale, and there's also a threshold below which no tax is due. For cryptocurrency investors, the legislative shift brings more nuance. On one hand, the government's decision alleviates immediate concerns about the potential increase in tax obligations associated with the Ley Omnibus. On the other hand, it underscores the evolving and sometimes precarious nature of cryptocurrency regulation and taxation." It goes on to say, "The omission of the crypto tax from the omnibus bill speaks to a broader strategy by the Milei administration, taking a few steps back following major public pushback, a set of national strikes and protests, and major criticism over the initial proposals. The goal of the Ley Omnibus is primarily to introduce comprehensive economic, social, and administrative reforms, which Milei say can foster economic development and freedom." Well, here's the thing. As much as I love Milei, as much as, he advertises himself as a libertarian, I mean, dude, like having to report your quote unquote Bitcoin and altcoin holdings and then paying, a 10 to 15% just by holding it. Like going back to the idea of you essentially pay taxes when there's a quote unquote capital gain. And that whole idea I think is BS also, because there's a capital gain compared to the currency that is designed to lose purchasing power. And of course, I'm losing the dollar. I'm talking about the dollar. There's the capital gain. But I mean, you kind of understand that? Why should you be penalized for, that gain. But I mean, I guess it's a step in the right direction, but also it kind of makes me question Malay a little bit, right? And a lot of people are like, don't trust a politician. I think absolutely right to say that and to feel that. But the whole idea coming from, you know, a so-called libertarian administration, the idea of taxing your holdings just to tax them, like penalizing you for, you know, and then what incentive do people have to report it in the first place? Like, I don't understand that. Like, I don't quite understand. I don't get it. But I think that's going to be a very important discussion, which is why should you be penalized and why should you be taxed differently for using Bitcoin as money versus using the local fiat currencies if the local fiat currencies punish you in the first place for just holding them? Like, that's a really important discussion. That's a really important debate that I think has to be had, right? Is like, why should I be taxed for holding money that doesn't decrease in purchasing power? Why should I be taxed for choosing money that increases in purchasing power? Like, why is that a thing? I don't understand, right? And I think that's a really important discussion. I think that's why what Nayib Bukele did in El Salvador is so important with the legal tender laws, right? Bitcoin is treated equally as the dollar. They're on equal footing, meaning you don't have to pay capital gains when you're using Bitcoin to purchase something. That's really important, right? In the US, it's a giant cluster F. Like, it's a disaster, right? It's an accounting disaster that unless you want to get in trouble for not paying your taxes, you have to do every year. And it sucks if you use Bitcoin as money, right? So yeah, I mean, like, I guess it's a step in the right direction. I mean, I don't see it as a celebration because what they were proposing in the first place wasn't that great. And they're just regressing back to essentially how the tax on Bitcoin works in every other country, and which is basically you get taxed on the capital gain when you quote unquote sell your Bitcoin. But the whole concept of that is crazy, right? If you are a Bitcoiner and you're still thinking of selling your precious 21 million Bitcoin for something that there's an infinite amount of, you still don't get it yet, and you should definitely tune into more Simply Bitcoin episodes because you still have a while. The whole point of Bitcoin is that you don't sell it back to dollars. That's the whole point of it. But we still got a whole lot of work to do as as Bitcoiners, as the Bitcoin industry, because, like, to be frank, like, to be perfectly frank with you guys, to be perfectly fair, like, the thing is that it's almost an impossibility running a business on Bitcoin. It's like fiat is just better to get paid in, right? And I'm not saying hold it, but it's just easier, less friction, less tax friction. The rails are just a little bit better. It's a more efficient way. And then not to mention, of course, Bitcoin's volatility, which is a feature, not a bug, but we're not at a place yet where you can run a business on Bitcoin. Like, I just don't see it. I don't see it yet. So we have a lot of building to do as Bitcoiners. And then to add into all this, and this is something that me and Opti and, Wine went through personally not too long ago. It's still not a plug and play solution to run Lightning if you want to run a self-custodial Lightning node. It's not easy. And by the way, I was like, I was so what's the word? I was so relieved when I heard this. Who was the guest the other day, Opti?
It was Shocknet or Shock Wallet, right?
Yeah, exactly. So it's like someone,
Justin, I believe.
He's even admitting it himself. He's like, this is not like plug and play. Like, this is not easy, right? So, it's not only just coming from, Bitcoin YouTubers and content creators that are saying this. It's like people that are from other sectors of the industry are also telling you that, like, this Lightning thing is not that easy. Like, for me, like, from a consumer perspective, unless something's like plug and play at this point, like, unless I want to like fiddle around and, kind of experiment, which is cool. And I've done that with multi-sig and other Bitcoin on chain stuff. But with Lightning isn't easy, everybody. And maybe that's controversial. Maybe people are getting pissed off in the chat, but like, that's the truth.
Nico.
Like, that's the truth. Lightning is not easy at the moment. The wallet of Satoshi was dope. Phoenix wallet is dope, but it's not perfect. So like, but I get it. Like, a lot of people are like, Nico, wallet of Satoshi is custodial, blah, 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 blah. Like, yeah, totally. It's custodial, but it's easy as hell to use. You download it and you can receive Lightning in like 5 seconds, which makes it appealing to the masses. And by the way, I'm not the only one who has this opinion. Beautyon feels this way too, right? Like, unless you make something easy to use, appealing to the masses. Look, back in the 80s and 90s, the prediction was that, personal computing would be in everyone's home. And the original idea of it was that everyone would have a keyboard and a mouse and a screen, and everyone would have a personal computer. What they failed to envision and realize is that they got the prediction right. The problem is that it wasn't the keyboard and the screen and the mouse. It was this, right? This is human intuitive. Anyone could pick up a smartphone and flick it, and it's easy to use, and it makes you feel good, and there's a little haptic to it, right? Unless we get to that point where you feel good, right, using it. Let me ask you something else. Have you guys used Apple Pay? That shit is like ding. It even dings.
I've used it with Bitcoin company.
With the Bitcoin company. Yeah, exactly. It vibrates when it makes you feel good for paying, like, which you shouldn't feel good for doing. It's like paying sucks, right? You just giving your money, right? Whatever, you're paying for a product. But the point is that we still have a lot of work to do. Like, there's still, like, from A to Z, there's a lot of road that we need to cover. There's a lot of things that we need to do in order for the experience to be as good or nearly as good as something like Apple Pay here in the US, right? Anyways, I know I went on a little bit of a tangent, bro, but like,
wait, this is he's not allowed here anymore. This is no longer Simply Bitcoin. It's Simply Bearish.
Dude, I mean, hey, is it simply bearish or is it simply
it's
realistic?
Simply realistic.
It's simply realistic. I mean, like, bro, like, look, like, great, like the Argentina thing. I remember when it was first dropped. It's like Argentina not taxing. It's like you guys are just going back to how it was before. It wasn't like Argentina dropping, taxes for Bitcoin, right? It wasn't like that at all. I mean, look, I'm not a fan of legal tender laws. I'm really not. Like the whole government mandated like currency. But I will say that like, the fact that the Bitcoin is on equal footing to the dollar in El Salvador, and the fact that you can use those current like currencies, interchangeably, like, I think that's a good thing. Nico's an altcoiner now or something. When did I say altcoins? All this stuff has to be built on Bitcoin. It has to be built on a solid base layer. All the altcoins have, like, that's a great conversation. We'll go there. Fine. Yeah. Okay. The thing about altcoins is they say, okay, it's more efficient, right? Like Solana, like, oh my God, efficient payments. It's very cheap, like blah, 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 blah. But there's a counter, they're trading off something for that. What they're trading off is decentralization, right? There's a reason that the Bitcoin blocks are the size they are. And the reason for that is decentralization above all. If something is not decentralized, it will inevitably be co-opted by a government or a powerful institution or a nation state. And the only cryptocurrency that is truly decentralized is Bitcoin. The only cryptocurrency that is truly backed by the most powerful decentralized computing network in the world is Bitcoin. Nothing else comes close. Let's talk about Ethereum. Ethereum, proof of stake, they're talking about proof of stake, how it's energy efficient. Try running an Ethereum node. Did you guys know that the vast majority of Ethereum nodes are run on servers, of which the vast majority of those are Amazon Web Servers? So if you actually want to see who runs Ethereum, right, it's Jeff Bezos. Like, if you really want to have that conversation. So decentralization above all. If something is decentralized, okay, it can resist, it can enable the separation of money and state. If it's not decentralized, it will be co-opted. And Ethereum already has. Ethereum's already censoring for the Office of Foreign Asset Control. So yeah, so no, altcoins are not the solution. The solution is second layer. The solution is the third layer. That's the solution. But we're just not quite there yet. We're not. Lightning still needs a lot of work. I'm a fan of what Blockstream and the whole team over there is doing with Liquid. Very cool stuff, what's being built out over there. But yeah, like, that's my take. I mean, bro, like, how can you get upset at me? Like, that's the truth. Ben the Carman wrote a great post on Stacker News, and he was covering about like the current state of Liquid. They're doing a great job at
At Lightning, on Lightning. It was
on
the Lightning
and exactly like the state of Lightning. So like, yeah, I mean, that's my thoughts. Maybe I am Nico's bearish, but like, bro, I don't know, dude. I don't know.
Well, I'm not here to defend Nico's altcoinery, but
altcoinery.
I'm just trolling, dude. But you do have a point, and like,
wait. So if I criticize, if I'm like, dude, like, what is this, a fucking cult? Like, yeah, dude, we got a lot of work to do. Lightning isn't easy, dude. It's not.
And that's the point. Like, guys, we got to remember. Look, not everyone on planet Earth is as obsessed with Bitcoin like we are, and we're willing to deal with, you know, the learning curve the clunkiness.
It's a fucking cult, bro.
the clunkiness of Bitcoin. But we got to be honest with ourselves. And
Bitcoin can't scale on the base layer. Like everyone, like you have to understand, like, look, we want hyper Bitcoinization, right? We want hyper Bitcoinization. Everyone wants hyper Bitcoinization. Bitcoin cannot scale on the base layer. It has to be second layer or third layer solutions. That is a massive problem. If we want hyper Bitcoinization right now, I don't think that would be possible with current second layer solutions. Why is that so controversial to say, bro?
Oh, this is so good. All right, before Nico offended himself because he's guilty here.
Why is that so controversial?
I'm trolling. Let Nico's triggered in the chat. All right. We got to be honest with ourselves. And most people, normal people,
like
they would trade
hold on. Luminous waves. Newsflash. Bitcoiners can think Bitcoin could be better. No, fuck no. Bitcoin is perfect the way it is. Don't touch Bitcoin. Bitcoin is fine, right? What is not fine is we need second layer solutions, which have to be built on top of Bitcoin.
Oh man, this is too good. All right.
Dude, am I wrong?
No, you're 100% right. So everyone in the chat is Friday. Nico's moving the Overton window of the discussion between Bitcoiners.
Look at this. We have Litecoin. No, don't. That's counterproductive.
No,
don't use the shit coins. That's just delaying the inevitable. Bitcoin wins here. Look here. Matthew J has a great comment. Lightning is on Cash App. Speed App is good too on Lightning. Fedimint's, Cashew, and other options will continue building. Absolutely. 100%. Elaine's saying now we know how to trigger Nico. Yeah. By calling him a shitcoiner, that's a great way to trigger me. Absolutely.
Okay. All right. Before Nico gets triggered again, it's very simple. If you talk to normal people, guys, they're going to trade convenience over everything. And so this is why I think the killer app, you know, everyone's in Bitcoin looking for the killer app. That's why Wallet of Satoshi why it took off so well, is because people are very willing to trade convenience over everything. And that's, you know, I'm not here to judge that. I'm just here to kind of acknowledge human psychology. And until Bitcoin, with the Bitcoin ethos that we all believe and we're all trolling Nico about in the chat, until we give people the best practices of Bitcoin and give them the convenience, we still have a long road ahead of us. So I do agree with Nico, and I don't think we have to trigger him anymore. Anyways, let's go back to that news story, because it's very interesting. Like, that taxing unrealized gains is absolutely crazy talk. Like, it's really amazing. Like, when I heard this headline on the surface, it sounded like really good. You know, it sounded like, oh, wow, they're making a jurisdictional arbitrage play. Like, they're trying to incentivize people to go down to Argentina. Maybe they're trying to incentivize Argentinians to use Bitcoin. And then when you get into the nitty gritty, it seems like it's setting a very horrible precedent, or it's moving backwards. So it's very interesting how things propagate on Twitter. And I don't know, man. Once Nico read some of that stuff, you're like, oh, man, like, I thought this was a good thing. Now it doesn't look like a good thing at all. It's like, it sounds even worse than maybe not even talking about Bitcoin and just letting it do its thing. So I don't know, man. Maybe this is why so many people in Argentina are using Tether, because there is some backwards laws and thinking in place. And this is the work that we all have to do to educate people and kind of, you know, push the best practices and ensure that people are using Bitcoin correctly and understand what Bitcoin is and what the point of Bitcoin is. And Nico, we still got a job for a while.
They're using Tether because of, like, the mematics of the US dollar. Like, let's be frank,
100%.
right? Like, if you pre 2009, if you lived in a developing country, the global south, you probably did not have a stable fiat currency, and the dollar was like the thing to have. Like, if you had dollars, you're a king, essentially. That still hasn't, like, that programming, that mindset still hasn't really changed. But however, Tether is a foot in the door, and the reason it's a foot in the door is because it gives them exposure to a non state controlled system. So a non, like you can have money on your phone, you can have money on a hardware wallet that you don't have to interact with a bank, right? Like, that's why I think it's a step in the right direction. It wasn't only me just saying this. We had Samson Mao on Simply Bitcoin IRL, and his wallet, the one that he just released, Aqua Wallet, actually has Tether integrated with it using the Liquid network. So yeah, I mean, look, we're definitely in the right direction. We have a lot of work to do as educators, as Bitcoiners. You guys got to get involved, take action, take agency. It's not just about listening to Simply Bitcoin. Get involved, right? Speak to your family, speak to your friends, be a force multiplier, right? Speak to the people around you. You could definitely do that. It's within you. All you have to take is individual agency. Anyways, that being said, I do want to give a shout out to our sponsor. So first up, of course, we have, I am pulling it up. I am slow today. It is Friday. Holy cow. Anyways, I want to talk about Bitcoin evangelism, planting the seeds for the decentralized revolution. This is a book by our friend Brian DeMint. He is the head of marketing at the Orange Pill app. We have 10 million people to Orange Pill. I was just talking about this. Bitcoin Evangelism by Brian DeMint is an absolute beast of a resource for orange pilling no coiners and altcoiners alike. This is a book for Bitcoiners who know Bitcoin but have a hard time explaining it to their friends. It's a book for Bitcoiners who are trying to explain Bitcoin only to altcoiners. You could scan the QR code on your screen right now. It will take you directly to the Amazon Marketplace. I also want to give a shout out to Kaboom! Are the most trusted place to buy, sell, and host mining equipment. What are you waiting for? Scan the QR code on your screen. It'll take you directly to the Telegram Marketplace where you can connect with a member of their sales team. They make purchasing their products easy and transparent. You could also sell your mining equipment with Kaboom Racks. Access their vast network of domestic and international customers when you sell your equipment with them. Check out Kaboom Racks. This is where I buy my Bitcoin mining ASICs. I highly recommend them. Kaboom Racks. All right, everybody, let's hit the meme review. It is Meme Review Fridays. Let's check it out. Here we go.
The Daily Meme Review.
All right, guys. I got them. Yeah, you are the meme today. All right, guys. You guys thought we were gonna rug pull you on the memes. It is Friday. You guys are yelling us in the chat. You already know the deal. It is Friday. It's no longer the daily meme review. It is the weekly meme review, which gives me a lot more ammo to give you guys some solid memes. So keep tagging me in them. I'll make sure that I pull up the best ones, or at least the ones that I think are the best, and maybe encapsulate all the stuff going on in the week. Of course, you already know. Well, maybe not all of you. But tweet to the bullets, memes are the artillery. We are in a memetic war. We are the frontline soldiers. Our weapon of choice is truth. We have truth on our side. So continue to combat the corporate press. Continue to ridicule the corporate press. Continue to get the calls of action out there and spread the Bitcoin signal. And then, of course, continue to make the funnies so your friends' heads stay in the game. Okay, first meme is by Samson Mao, and he goes, pay attention to the Bitcoin ETF intake rates. And we got the classic meme template here of, hi, I'd like to make a wake-up call. The guy in the hotel in his bed, and he's calling, what do you call it, the service downstairs. And so he goes, hi, I'd like to make a wake-up call. And she picks up the phone and goes, it's impossible that ETFs keep accumulating at this rate without price going parabolic. Let's go, guys. It's only a matter of time until the meme pump. All right, next
What's
meme.
wrong with me today, dude? It's fucking Friday, dude. I'm fried.
All right, next meme. Buy Coinfinity on Twitter.
Can I take this over?
Oh, you're gonna butcher the memes now. Okay, you got it.
All right, guys. So I want to explain this meme. First, it's Anakin's. I'm sorry. I'm gonna give back the mic to Opti.
Okay. Nico's not going to butcher the memes. All right. First one is Coinfinity on Twitter. And he goes, good morning. What do you think of my new bag? Hashtag Bitcoin. And this is the classic Anakin Skywalker template with, what's her name? Padme, I believe. And we got Anakin here and he's doing the look over and he goes, I bought you a new bag. And then Padme goes, with Bitcoin? And he looks of Bitcoin. Keep buying your bags of Bitcoin. Keep stacking. This is the way. And then Padme is freaking out because, of course, your wife or girlfriend, if you have one of those, wants a new bag and a less bag of Bitcoin. But no, we guide them towards the promised land and you keep stacking that Bitcoin. Okay, the next one is by our boy, the BTC therapist on Twitter. And he goes, stay humble and stack sats. Hashtag BTC. And we got a dog here, a very disciplined dog here. I don't even know how this is possible. This must be Photoshop, but we got a Labrador. We got Labra here, very disciplined Labra. And he's got, I don't even know how many cookies and treats Jenga'd on his nose, and he's sitting there just letting his owner stack them. And the Jenga of dog treats is the bull market, and the Labra, the infamous Labra himself is the Bitcoin hodlers. Guys, continue to hodl that Bitcoin. Do not go back to fiat. Make sure you hodl them Bitcoins. Okay, this next one's a little more intricate. Shouts out to Zeus. If you have a Lightning wallet or you're looking for a Lightning wallet, if you run your own Lightning node, highly recommend Zeus, aka @_Bitcoin Zeus on Twitter. And he goes, hashtag Bitcoin ranks have been updated. Hope you like them better. And here we go. I'm going to start at the bottom. So you guys know the classic meme of the hierarchy of Bitcoin hodlers. Well, we got a new one that just hit the interwebs, and we have a debt slave on the bottom that either has dust or no sats. We have a humble pleb with over 1 million sats, and you can kind of see the pictures here. I'll zoom in. We have pleb soldiers with over 1 million sats and under 25 million sats. We have a pleb mercenary with 25 million sats to half a Bitcoin. We have a pleb yeoman with half a Bitcoin to 1 whole Bitcoin. We have a pleb knight with 1 to 3 Bitcoins. We have a pleb baron with 3 to 10 Bitcoins. We have a pleb lord with 10 to 20.99999 Bitcoin. And we have pleb kings with more than 21 Bitcoin. Do not drop in the chat which one you are.
Debt slave, bro.
Mentally
I don't
get
have
this.
Bitcoin. What is Bitcoin?
Yeah, we don't have Bitcoin. We just do a show about it. We don't have Bitcoin. All right, this last one. This is a hot take from everyone's favorite yellow journalist, aka the Bitcoin Bugle.
Why yellow journalist?
You go look it up. It's an actual term. It's a real term. Yellow journalism. Look it up right now, and you can tell them at the end of this meme review. It basically means satire. Anyways, the Bitcoin Bugle on Twitter, and you can see here, it's a very beautiful picture of a sunset, golden sunset with some birds flocking in the sky. And he goes, the Bitcoin Bugle goes, the days of sitting around listening to Think Boy, Laser-Eyed podcaster philosophers is over. The age of the fiat celebrity transitioning to the Bitcoin celebrity has dawned. It's a new age.
Look at this, bro. People calling me shit quarters.
I honestly, Bugle, I don't know if I should feel attacked here, or am I transitioning into the e-thought celebrity Bitcoin e-girl? I don't know yet.
Have you guys seen Opti's shorts? They're so dope. Opti, I'm proud of you.
Which shorts?
The YouTube shorts, bro.
Oh, my short. I thought you meant like my actual shorts. I was like, yeah, 5-inch shorts are the way. Like. All right.
Why did I have to picture that in my head?
Dude, hey, if your thighs and knees aren't out, your shorts are too long, guys. Come on. This is called style. All right. Drop your meme review score in the chat,
to the Friday
guys.
Special. Oh, man. This has been a good Friday special, bro. I'm enjoying the hell out of this.
Dude, we gave him some technical conversations. We trolled Nico.
Bro. Harris is, dude, that guy is so smart. Holy cow.
We trolled Nico that he's an altcoiner now, undercover altcoiner, and
Never. I would die before that would happen. Anyways,
we got some memes in. Great Friday. Okay, drop your meme review score in the chat. But before we get
slavery, bro, no altcoins here.
Yeah, Bitcoiner
Anyways,
slavery.
Dude, okay, wow. This has been one.
Yeah, get your score.
I'm
gonna
one
get
of my
mine.
favorite shows. I'm not gonna lie. It started off rough, but you know, it ended with a bang. So I'm gonna give it these unconfiscatable die that Tone Vase gave me at my wedding. Thank you, Tone. I love you, bro. Appreciate it.
Are they official casino die?
Official,
Are they weighted?
Unconfiscatable merch dice. I don't know if
are they the weighted ones?
The weighted
or
ones,
these
bro. But this is some good memorabilia.
casino die.
And I appreciate you, Tone. Thank you so much for giving me this at my wedding.
All right, I am going to give this an unopened bag of pistachios. Oh, you can't see it. Roasted and salted bag of pistachios. It was actually like one of the gag gifts. I don't know why my mom gave me this for Christmas, and it's been a month late. I haven't opened it.
Shitting on me today. I don't do drugs.
All right, guys. Well, you already know we're not wearing the merch today, but there is still a few shirts and
it's
a few hoodies
too. Discounted.
I think maybe the intern took that off if I remember correctly, but we'll see. Anyway, scan the QR code.
I do have a glass
no
bottle,
more.
but it's
No
empty.
more.
It's empty.
Nico got a filter.
It's
You stepped
pick
it
on
up.
Nico Fridays. I got it. I understand.
Yes. Yeah, dude,
I
it
understand.
feels so good that the chat's not picking on me for once. This is great.
Like
this is
All right,
awesome.
Let's do this every Friday. Is pick on Nico Fridays. Now,
pick on Abdi all week. Pick on Nico Friday.
What gets under my skin. Every Friday, everyone's gonna be like, Nico's a shitcoiner.
Let's
Anyways,
see.
Are we playing the music, bro?
Yeah, I got it.
All right.
Okay, here we go.
Elaine, Simply Chat promises to rebuild Nico's reputation as a maxi the coming weeks. Elaine Savage! Igor, I give the memes a third-party liquid submarine swap posing as a lightning TX.
Ooh, shots fired.
Okay, next one, Justin Boyvin. Meme score, shaky foundation, alt shitcoin.
Wait. Can we read this? Yes, we
Simply
can.
Bitcoin has no Bitcoin treasury and holds Nico coin, so now the show is simply slavery.
Simply Nico coin. Here we go.
UTXO, I give the memes the bull Nico. I don't do drugs. Oh man. Matthew J, I give the memes one Simply Bitcoin tuxedo t-shirt.
Wait, okay. Before I go to Rumble, I want to read Annoyed Opossum's
This is
comments.
a weird
This is like a
version of
weird
show and
version of
tell.
show and tell. Yes.
Wait,
yes,
why?
it
I
is.
don't understand.
This is the meme review. All right, one more here on YouTube.
You're new. You haven't been exposed to the meme review. Welcome to the meme review.
Maybe,
yes. Torn Up Huddle, meme score, MVDXR.
Madex,
By the
Madex
way,
art.
huge fan. Should I grab it? I'm going to show it.
Yeah, grab it. I'll read this. Meme score, Madex art, the teeth to bite the fiat hands that feed. If you know, you know.
This is just one of my few Madexes. Absolutely incredible. Highly recommend this amazing Bitcoin artist. Every Madex art has an open dime with some few sats in the back. So free shield for Madex. But yeah, it's absolutely incredible art. 100%.
Next one, Roman meme score. I second the Simply Tuxedo t-shirt. Okay, all right, heard. All right, let's see. We have a few on Rumble. Here, let me give you guys, I think this is a sound request. First one is by Don Bali, and he goes, I am pleb. Wait, no. Moran, score.
I am building.
And then last one is Narwhal Tacos. Meme score, 21 sats. I had a full week to come up with a score, and that's the best I could do.
Shout out. Oh, we got something.
Okay.
Shout out Esther from Nigeria. What's up, Esther? I am in Nigeria anyway. Very cool.
Wait. Now Nico's shilling physical NFTs.
Yes, I do love art. I actually do love art. I love art. Art is dope. I highly recommend it.
Hold on, for Nico today is a...
Yeah, 100%. Hit that again, bro.
Oh
Anyway,
man.
Okay.
We out ya. We out ya.
We're out of time. Guys, I hope you enjoyed the Friday edition of Simply Bitcoin Live. We're going to be more playful on the Fridays. We're going to spice it up. We're always going to throw a curveball for the Friday episodes because it's the ones where me and Opti are already burnt out from the week. So yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. But anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed the show. Harris, incredible conversation. Guys, check out BitDeer, what they're doing over there, innovating, not only mining Bitcoin, but potentially making Bitcoin ASICs. That's incredibly exciting. So super happy he came on the show. Go check out BitDeer. I'm your host, Nico. This is my legendary co-host / brother, Optimus Fields. We're Simply Bitcoin Live, and we'll be back Monday. Rustin's going to be dropping hot fire, though, so check out the Simply Originals. They're going to be dropping. And next week, we should be dropping some more fire for you guys. So everyone, enjoy the weekend. We'll be back Monday for a brand new episode of Simply Bitcoin Live. Love you guys all. Peace out, everybody.